What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and after a very eventful week at Monmouth Park with Haskell Day with me and my co-host, Patrick Kunsel, we are back, and we're talking, of course, the track of the summer, which is Saratoga, and we're going to talk there Friday, Late Pick5. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you guys all so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. As now we are streaming only on YouTube exclusively, guys. I posted everything to X. If you're coming over from X, please leave a comment down below and which is your best bet of the entire weekend. We would love to hear from you guys. And so obviously, like I said, you can't listen on X anymore. However, like I said, that brings everyone over to our main platform, which is YouTube. So hopefully you all can still enjoy over here. And if you guys do enjoy, please go down below the video player, hit the like button, and hit the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it because not only is it the best way to help out our channel and completely free to do, it also pushes these podcasts and others we post out into YouTube's algorithm to hopefully bring like-minded horse players to the HHH Racing Podcast. Of course, for that, we thank you. Our normal podcast schedule is scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now. Every single Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you have Pacific Horseplayers with Noah, Ryan, and Jackson talking Del Mar, which if you missed that show at last night, after this one, go ahead and give that one a watch as well right here with Bettin N Boozin every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, you have Picks and Ponies every single Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well. We like to upload tape shows every now and again too. So hit the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we end up posting extra content for you guys. Also, you can listen to our podcast over in audio form, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchors where we post those. So if you're more of an audio listener, please go rate, review, and subscribe over there. We would greatly appreciate it. Our TikTok and Instagram at Bettin N Boozin Podcast for more short form content. The Saratoga Power Picks, unfortunately, have already gone by the wayside. If you got those, we had a pretty good day last week, including Pete hitting a play of the day on Sunday. But you guys still have an opportunity to sign up by tomorrow for Del Mar. That is the 24th. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this as a replay, you only have until the 24th, that is Thursday, to buy the Del Mar Power Picks. And let me tell you, I'm sure Patrick will be able to attest to this. We had a fun drive home from Monmouth, from dinner after Monmouth on Saturday, and we ended up crushing the a couple Del Mar races with the help of Noah. So if you bought them, I don't know if Patrick and I would have bought them. Obviously, they would have already paid for themselves. So if you haven't got them, again, go over to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, for Del Mar only, and get your power picks today. Everything is listed there for what. Oh my gosh. For everything you need, payment information, what's included, go over to hhhracingpodcast.com. Of course, our normal power picks are still available. You get these every single Saturday morning. It's only $21.60 a month. That's $5 a weekend, but it's billed monthly through Patreon. And we have 885 total picks since February of 2021, and we're still well above the profitable mark. Again, these pay for themselves, as humbly as I can say that. They really do. It's all done through patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. So go give it a look over there for one of the cheapest and most profitable tip sheets in all of YouTube. Guys, I'll bring on Patrick. We'll talk about the Haskell weekend for just a little bit. Then we'll go to the chat and get right into the handicapping. But my co-host for tonight, Charlie, unfortunately is sick. He went to Vegas and unfortunately got sick on his way back, so he will not be joining us. However, Patrick will be here with me. And Patrick, my friend, last week, what do the kids say now? It was a movie. That's what it was.
Yeah, we had a good time. Monmouth was a blast. Hospitality was great. Had a great spot, up top there at the finish line. Enjoyed the company of you and Emma and the whole Crown's Way crew. And dinner was great. And then the ride home, that was the cherry on top and paid for the trip.
Paid for the dinner almost. That's for damn sure. The dinner, yeah. The dinner was the most expensive.
Make the girls sit in the front, make them drive. We sit in the back, win some money. It's a good night.
What's better than that? The girls get to talk to each other, and we just get to degen it up in the back. We're texting Noah in the back saying, squad ride and let's go and all that. It was an absolute ton of fun. But yeah, Monmouth was fantastic. I'm very happy with how Vote No ran. He could have ran better than that. Obviously, just missed third by passing Major Dude. Was he probably beating redistricting that day with the trip he got? Probably not. I don't think anyone was. However, got a 98 buyer coming back. So looking forward to some more races down the line for, of course, Vote No. But yeah, absolutely fantastic weekend. It was my first time to Monmouth Park, and the hospitality was great. The people were great. I said this to Emma when I came home, a lot of these tracks, I don't know what to expect going because I like to surprise myself. I don't like to, go into a new track like fully researched or anything like that. I like to experience it for what it is. And it pleasantly surprised me how nice the amenities were nice. The track was very nice. The rail, you got to get up, very close to everything between the paddock, which reminded me a lot of Arlington Park's paddock with all the trees and everything like that. So brought up some nice memories for me as well. But yeah, very pleasantly surprised with that track over in Oceanport, New Jersey, and hope to be back pretty soon as long as Patrick is willing, of course, to have me out in his neck of the woods. Katie, of course, was here. I told
you what we're going to do, Kyle. We're going to go to Saratoga and we're going to get the party van down for the day.
Hey, do you say the word? I say how high, my friend. You know that. Katie, of course, was here bright and early. Jim Pillars was pissed because he didn't beat Katie here. Of course, Terry Frank is here. Terry, welcome to the show. Lucas, my friend, good to see you as always, and hopefully we can make some money up at Saratoga if you're going up there. But yeah, Lucas, thanks so much for joining the show. Greatly appreciate it. And of course, the boss is here. If you guys are new to this podcast over on YouTube, bottom right-hand side of the screen is where you can live chat throughout the entire show, whether it's, a question or some handicapping opinions, anything of the sort. Please comment to us in the live chat. We would love to read it. Patrick, we'll get right into the handicapping. We won't waste anyone's time. Again, we're covering the Late Pick5 on Friday at Saratoga. That is July 25th, and it'll be races 6 through 10 if you have the sheet in front of you, which starts out with a $20,000 claiming race. And I believe it was Howard, if I'm not mistaken, who said that they weren't carding. I've barely seen any races carded in the Wilson chute that wasn't like an off the turf race. But this first one is going to start out of that Wilson chute. It's a field of 7 claiming 20,000. As I mentioned before, morning line favorite is going to be the number 6 Peak Flavian Pratt for Falcone at 3-1, and your second and third choice is going to be shared between the number 2 Catch the Smoke and the number 7 Hero Status. Pat, bringing up our picks right now. I am going with Peak. You are going with Hero Status. Both horses that we mentioned, although again, I have Hero Status in third, you have Peak in second, so we're basically thinking along the same wavelength here.
Yeah, Kyle, I had a tough time differentiating the two, Peak and Hero Status. I ended up going with Hero Status, obviously getting the outside post there. Flying P has been known to pick their spots up in Saratoga. Last summer, they had a great, was right there for the ownership battle. What I'll say is the last couple races have been not pleasant. Let me just say that. So obviously going to drop down now. The mile is the distance that Hero Status wants. That's obvious. And I'm just hoping this horse, with a little time off, got good, solid, 4 works in. I know there was a little bit of a gap in Saratoga. I'm hoping this horse can get back to form because between the 6 and 7, he's the class here, Kyle. I wonder where he's going to sit more forwardly placed. I would hope, considering that's what he's done when he's done his best running. But I think, like you said, it's between the two.
I would agree with you in that regard. And he was really good. And, last year, he really hasn't, ever since Norm Cassidy claimed him, unfortunately, has never been that same horse. But hopefully he can get back to winning ways with a little bit of a drop down here. In class, you can see Timeform US has them favoring the front runners up front, which, of course, if the 7 were to sit just off the 5, that would be beautiful in terms of trip for your 7, which is what I saw as well, which is why I have him in third. I just don't know what horse is going to show up here. He's running on the West Coast. He was running 95s, 99s at Del Mar. He was 4th in the Oaklawn Mile in 23. It's just one of those that, what happened to this horse almost? Obviously, they claimed him for 80. Now they're dropping him in for 20. Where it's probably where he can win nowadays, but man, that's just not gonna, it's not gonna be the best of talk, of course, with the trainer for someone like Flying P Stable that they really have some nice horses in there. But hopefully Hero Status can sit that trip and go by at the top of the stretch. Although I think Peak is another one of those same types of horses, Pat, where he's had very good back numbers, but hasn't been able to show it as of recent, at least back to the 82 or 88. However, he has run at least competitively to get that 73 and 78. That's what the only thing I didn't like about Hero Status is obviously just the recency of the races. I also like the cutback for Peak in this race. You can see when he was trained by Rusty Arnold back in late 24, he had him running at, 1 turn at Keeneland, 7 furlongs, 7.5 at Churchill. And that's where he was doing his best running. Granted, they had the 82 and 88 last winter. This past winter, over at Aqueduct going 2 turns. However, this horse might just be very suited to that 1 turn type of distance. And we'll see what happens for Peak, where in a race that there's a lot of different ways you can go. I'm sticking with the number 6, and I also think the 7 is live. Pat, the horse you have in third is number 4, JJ's Joker, recently claimed Vilke Kantarmachi. This is one that also has these numbers that have been running in very competitive races around this type of level. Just going to have to show that he can, but you're going to get a better price on him today, but he's going to have to show that he can return to that form, just like everyone else, it seems like we're going to talk about in this race.
Yeah, exactly. Kantarmachi's, I think they got a win today. Either their first or second of the meet, kind of running in the claiming ranks, which they're known to do, and known to do pretty well. Yeah, Kyle, another instance here where we're trying to get back to form. That race, what is it now, going 3 back, at this level, was pretty good. And I'm hoping, that horse can kind of revert back to that, because this horse has shown some speed. I don't know. The horse is 431 lifetime. We're going to be picking hairs in this spot. Yeah. It's just, I think this horse is going to hit the board. I just don't have confidence on the win end.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I am. I actually almost had put the 2 on top, Pat. I don't know how you felt about this. Obviously running in starter allowances at places like Monmouth and running at allowances at Parks. But these last couple races for this horse have been very competitive. And last time he ran at Saratoga at the mile and an 8th, didn't run good necessarily, but that was against much tougher than what's in this type of spot. He's 6 years old now, but he's probably running the best he's ever ran. So the fact that you can pick this horse up at probably a middling type price when you're getting, 90, 86 buyers when everyone else almost seems like they have to, get back like a year or something like that to run well. I think Catch the Smoke could be really the one in this race too. Might be the most trustworthy. It's just a matter of, again, your most trustworthy is a statement in a race where there's not a whole lot of trust to bestow upon a lot of these horses. So I think the 2 Catch the Smoke, hopefully will be a decent price to where, you could put them in some type of exacta. But I do ride with the number 6 Peak in this spot. Like I said, there's just Unbridled Bomber's another one dropping, but even he, back numbers wise, he has an 85, an 83, and 84. But other than that, all of them are in the mid 70s which might not be good enough to win this race. I think you might need low 80s. However, it's going to depend on which horse can reconjure up that form that they showed, along with Steiner, who, if this race does favor front runners like Timeform says, this horse it could have everything his way. It's just a matter of running at Finger Lakes last time. You'd imagine that this race would be a lot tougher in this spot for this horse. This would be have to show it to me before I could place any type of win bet on this horse. But either way, this race is tough. It's a nice stout field of 7 and a very competitive field of 7 at that to kick off this late pick 5. I'm going 6-2-7. Pat's going 7-6-4. Pat switching over to race number 7, and we get to a little bit more stouter competition, if you will. This is a 2-year-old maiden special weight, guys, for fillies going a mile on the inner turf course. There's a couple of Paul Halloran's favorite things in this race, which is the coupled entry, although the one couple entry is on the also eligible list, so we'll see if that horse draws in. Again, all 2-year-old fillies. The 2 and the 2B are Flight Town and Time to Dream. The morning line favorite is a very surprising to me, Pat, because I had thought the horse that you're going to end up having on top was going to be the morning line favorite. As a lot of people know, I don't handicap with morning lines on when I originally look at the PPs. Afterwards, I'll turn on and we'll see how I compare to the morning lines. I thought Mayora was definitely going to be the morning line favorite in this spot, having already one run under her belt, but morning line favoritism does go to the number 6, Red Violet, for Flavian Pratt and Chad Brown at 3-1. Second choice is Mayora with Joel Rosario for George Weaver at 4-1. And your third choice is the shared coupled entry of the 2, both trained by Todd Pletcher. The 2 ridden by Dylan Davis, and the 2B ridden by Jose Ortiz at 9-2. Pat, I'll bring up your picks right now. You are not even going with any of the couple entries in here. You're going with Mayora on top. You're going 4-6-5. I went 6-4-2B, and I have my reasoning, so I'd love to hear what yours on the number 4, Mayora. I have her in second. I think she's just as live as anyone in this race, and in a lot of these 2-year-old fillies races, even 2-year-old male races, it always helps to have one under your belt.
Yeah, it does. And I thought that race, her debut at Aqueduct, she did it the right way coming in second, coming from off the pace. Yeah, they were moving quickly, but I just liked, her turn her foot late. I thought Joelle was engaged with her in the stretch. And then, watching the work, Rosario was on her. She worked right in company with another, what looks to be solid 2-year-old for George Weaver. So I'm hoping there's another progression in here. Kyle, I don't know about you, but I just couldn't get aboard any of the firsters, convincingly. That's why I kind of landed on the 4 here. And Weaver does have, pretty good numbers, second time out, especially going from the sprint to route with his 2-year-olds.
No, look, and I thought she did it really well last time, losing to Nona's Love, who is another Nona Bella filly out of that extremely greatly bred family out of Rapoli stable. So that's definitely not one to, there's no shame in losing to a horse like that. However, I do also like going sprint to route, being by Tappet. I was, by Spitestown out of a Tappet mare. I really think she will appreciate this extra distance. The only thing that look at this breeding on Red to Violet. That's the only thing that made me, again, take the 6. To my assumption, I thought the 4 was going to be favorited over the 6, and maybe it will end up being that on Friday. However, we'll have to see how the board goes. And the nice thing is that even though this isn't the first race of the sequence, if you have an ADW, whether that's Naira Bets, Twin Spires, whatever you use, you can look at double probables through there, and you can kind of see where all the money's going for this race, which is something I love to use. This Irish breeding, Pat, she was Rabina was very, very good. She was graded, she was group stakes placed, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But these siblings, she's had 5, this horse has 5 siblings, headed by Rubelinda, who was also a Chad Brown trainee. She won the Pebbles at Belmont in 2017. she's had 5 winners. All 5 of her progeny have won, and I think they've all won on turf as well. You can see Rafina there, then Fortuneno, who won first time out at 2 years old at Saratoga, for that matter, for Christophe Clement. Toy Collector, who also won on the turf, but that was at 3. And same thing with Rivka, however, that was on the synthetic. So 5 for 5 in winners on the dam side, but also 4 of those 5 came on turf. And this horse being by Justify, you could just imagine how much that increases. 18% on the 2-year-old first-time starters for Justify, and the same number for 2-year-olds overall. So lots and lots and lots of good breeding on this one. Would love to see how the money pans out for Red Violet. Obviously, Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt, you're going to imagine that this horse will take money. I would not take anything below 5-2 on this horse, and you'll see in my best bets later how I have that listed there as well. But lots of different breeding angles on this one. Obviously, Chad Brown does very nicely with his 2-year-olds as well as his 2-year-old turf starters. So Red Violet will be one of my plays on Friday. Pat, you have this horse in second. You also have the other Chad in third. So please feel free to add on anything you want to add.
Yeah, no, I echo everything you said on the 6. With Market Chill, I just want to watch the board with her. If she's getting bet, she's definitely somebody I'm going to be using. And I just couldn't leave her, out of my top 3. I think she's not this time, Giants Causeway. I just think, the sire there is halfway decent with first-time starters. So, I don't know, Kyle. I just thought there was others in here, like the 3, who is it? Curly Q girl. Belmont's just not known for winning first time out with the on the turf with 2-year-olds. His numbers just aren't very good. So I'm just going to try and go elsewhere. Obviously, pretty good connections in there. But Kyle, this is one where we would have loved to have the workout report, right?
No, well, yeah, absolutely. And obviously we'll get that come Friday morning. You can see exactly what Pat just said. 2-year-olds for turf, first time starting for Belmont, are 6 for 83, 7% on the win end. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. Again, Belmont does such a good job developing horses, but if there's one thing Belmont's not known for, it's first time out, especially on the turf. The only other horse I have in there is the 2B. Again, I don't like these coupled entries just as much as the man I just showed on the screen, as they completely ruin your price, where I'd much rather have one versus the other. I'd much rather have the 2B versus the 2. Time to Dream, Rapoli owned, stable bought for $750,000 at the Fasig Tipton sale. Jose Ortiz hops on here for Todd Bletcher. And this damn Wild Silk, if you take a look here, you could go 95 in a dirt sprint. Who is that? This horse is a half to red carpet ready. So while not necessarily on the turf side, although was stakes placed on the turf at Ellis Park, definitely more of a dirt runner. However, anyone that's a half to red carpet ready, who was a grade 2 winner in the 8 Bells and a grade 3 winner of the Hurricane Birdie. So definitely good breeding there on that. It's just a matter of, can she replicate it on the turf here first time out? Remember, and everyone was complaining about Pletcher having a slow start to this meet, and now I believe he's the leading trainer out at Saratoga right now, winning 7 for 27.
I love when people,
I love when people, it's like, oh, we can't bet Pletcher because Pletcher's, 0 for 13. Yeah, it's Todd Pletcher, guys. It's not exactly some random person you never heard of. So Time to Dream, I'm going to have in third, but obviously that does come with also the number 2 Flight Town, for also owned by Rapoli, for Pletcher. Dylan Davis rides this one, but again, I'd much rather have the 2B versus the 2. But of course, they're going to make me take both, barring any scratches. But this is a very nicely stout maiden special weight for 2-year-olds on the turf. So would love to see how the money comes in, and of course would love to see how they run on Friday. I'm going 6-4 2B preferably, but of course that includes the 2. And Patrick's going 4-6-5. Pat, let's move on to race number 8. Of course, that leaves us with another maiden claiming race as I skip to it right now in the Echo Bay. 6.5 furlongs on the dirt for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, as I show the field of 8 on the screen right now. The morning line favorite is number 3, Sheer Will. Wait, no, is that right? Yeah, that's right. I
Yep.
don't know why I'm losing my mind here. Sheer Will. Jose Ortiz hops on for Linda Rice at 5-2. Second choice is number 6. Darty Time for Flavian Pratt and Al Stahl at 3-1. Third choice being the number 1 all the way to the inside. Kate Berry, Irad Ortiz for Ray Handel as a first-time starter, which, Pat, you are going with Kate Berry, the first-time starter, to the inside for Ray Handel. I'm going with the number 6, Darty Time with Flavian Pratt riding here again. Pat, I'm going to go to you first. Again, first-time starter, 35,000 claimer. Obviously, they bought this horse for 200,000, but I know one syndicate that will be very happy to see you pick this horse on top.
Yeah, and I had to get some info from the ringleader of that syndicate as to what the situation was, with her not really not running and now running in this level race. And she's had some soundness issues that's put her kind of behind the 8 ball, of running in a maiden special weight race. So, but that work last out was I thought was impressive.
Yep.
And she needs to break from the rail. That's obvious, Kyle. If she doesn't break, she doesn't really have a chance in here. But Ray Handel's been pretty good with firsters too, especially up at Saratoga. He's been pretty impressive with his ROI up there with firsters. He's known to pull off some upsets at this level. So I'm going to take a chance in here. I understand where you're going with the 6. I just with Al Stahl up here, he always seems to get bet. Nah, I don't know. It's tough to trust, but yeah, those numbers are pretty solid. And that ROI is, definitely juicy for me. So, yeah, I'm going to take a chance. I'm hoping this horse is ready to go because obviously the soundness issues are a little concerning.
Well, of course, and for our good friends up at Adelphi Racing Club, of course, great friends of the podcast. If this horse was drawn outside, I probably would have this horse on top as well. And I'm glad that you brought in that information from Adelphi. I just don't like firsters going off on the rail. It's much better, at 3 years old. But if she's had, some issues and stuff like that, and she's going to break from the rail going 6.5 at Saratoga, that's where I waver a little bit, especially if, Irad's aboard, she's going to take the money. So I would definitely have her in there if I was playing any type of horizontal. However, I went elsewhere with Darty Time. She didn't run bad. I mean, she ran pretty bad necessarily, but she was up on the pace. She was bet really well first time out. Now picks up Pratt. Al Stahl brings this horse here, drops into the maiden claiming ranks. But again, this horse only sold for 60,000. They got, they got 1,200 from her last time. If they can get this win of this purse, which is, how much is this purse for this? 47. They get 6% of 47. Doesn't exactly pay for all of that price if they do get claimed. However, of course, it does soften the blow a little bit, but I'm hoping she can break from the outside. Flavian Pratt's so good at reading the break. If he can sit off of a horse like the 4, maybe the 3 Sheer Will, which we'll talk about in a second. However, I don't think Sheer Will is that fast out of the gate to vie for the lead. However, the 4, Cars Chianti, not Chianti. As
you nailed that, Kyle. Good for you.
My Italian roots might haunt me forever if I don't say Chianti correctly. But obviously it was said wrong in Silence of the Lambs, one of the best movies of all time. So, if I said it wrong, how bad would it be? This horse will definitely be fast out of the gate. So if Darty Time can sit right off of the 4, would love that trip, especially with Flavian Pratt aboard. So hopefully we will see how that goes. But again, Al Stahl, you mentioned, does get bet a lot. However, the works are very nice. Was very nice coming into that first race. Didn't run the best. Does have a work back up at Saratoga all over the turf course, which is interesting enough. We'll see how, again, I would not play this horse vertically because this horse will be somewhere around the 5-2, 3-1 mark. And even though I think she can definitely win, definitely a little bit too low on that end. Pat, you do have the 4 in second. You also have Sheer Will in third, who I have in second. So please feel free to wrap up those 2.
Yeah, with Cars Chianti, I just thought those last 2 races, I mean, what were those? And they were against decent fields. She just, had trouble and just it wasn't good. Obviously didn't has not liked the slop when running on it. So hopefully that doesn't come up. But I really do think this horse, is better than her last two running lines suggest. Get on a fast track. I don't, I think the sprint distance is what she wants. So we'll see how it goes. But she needs to get out of the gate good. Obviously this is the softest spot. She's been in a while. Then Sheer Will for Linda. Linda's going to drop this horse, down to this level now. Try and find a softer spot. I just thought that she's just run. Her form's a little muddied up because it's just not that turf race doesn't want it, obviously. But I thought three back. I didn't think that race was as bad as it actually looks on paper. I don't know what you thought. I just thought she was honestly coming late. So the pace we'll see how the pace does end up being. But she should sit a stalking trip, I would say, in third. But she figures to be right in the mix too.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. I just think it's easily the softest spot she's ever ran in. And the fact that, maybe she didn't want the turf last time. Although the funny thing is that's by far, not by far, but that's the closest she's ever been to winning a race by 6 1/4 rather than the 7.5 on dirt. But again, she's run her best buyers on dirt. Easiest spot so far. So we will see how Sheer Will runs. I think she'll run very well. But again, being in this spot with this connections, I think she's going to be over bet in a race that looks very wide open. And Pat, I do like Karas Chianti, considering at this level, we talk about it a lot. And I talked about it a lot when I worked back at Arlington because you ran a lot of these types of races. There's a lot of these horses have trouble. I don't know how to explain it because, again, I'm not a horse whisperer or anything like that, but a lot of these horses have trouble going past other horses.
Yep.
And the fact that Karas Chianti is going to be up front, that's kind of why I like Darty Time, just because I think she's going to sit right off the 6. And she has shown the ability in the last race to at least rate a little bit, although not finish last time. Again, much easier spot, as I said before. But Karas Chianti, if she can sit right up there, I think she can easily catch a slice, if not even take this race on Friday. But again, lots of different ways you can go. This is a pretty tough sequence so far for Friday. I'm going 6-3-1. Pat's going 1-4-3 right at the wire, my friend. Nice hat, Kyle. Got one too. Of course, had the pleasure of meeting you, my friend, out at the Haskell. So greatly appreciate you coming up and talking. As well as, again,
is he the one that is right at the wire? The one that yelled at me across the
it was, yeah,
it was. The sky well.
Yeah, I was. I think he was yelling at Emma, to be honest with you.
Oh yes,
but
yeah, he wasn't yelling at me. I don't know why I said that.
No, everything's about you, Pat, of course. But no, that was in the paddock for vote no. Like I said, everyone that watched Weekend Warriors on Saturday got both Emma and Meg's first time on camera for the podcast. So obviously, it was an absolute ton of fun. In race 8, I'm going 6-3-1, and Pat's going 1-4-3. Pat, moving on to the next race, and this is the feature on the entire card. It's the Grade 2 Amsterdam, 200,000, going 6.5 furlongs for 3-year-olds. Another field of 8. Yep, see, I was talking to Emma again, but Pat loves to think it's about himself, and I like to, we go with it. But either way, again, field of 8 for the Grade 2 Amsterdam. Morning line favorite is going to be the number 1 to the inside, the very fast Macho Music. Irad Ortiz hops on for Rowan Crichton at 2-1 on the morning line. Second choice is number 2, Garamond for Flavian Pratt, Chad Brown at 7-2. Third choice is going to be the number 6, Gunmetal. Luis Saez hops aboard for Brad Cox at 9-2. And Pat, I'm going to bring up our picks right now. And I meant to change that because I do not have I do not have Macho Music. I actually have the horse you have on top in third. As you guys, I do it early and then I come back late to see if I want to switch anything. And that was actually the one that I ended up switching. You're going with a 6-1 horse for Brian Hernandez and Dallas Stewart, the Louisiana bred, the number 3, Smokin' Wicked. And again, this is one that's going to come, I believe, on a cutback. If I'm not a cut. This is the horse that's been running at this type of distance. So what'd you like most about the number 3, Smoking Wicked to upset the Amsterdam.
Yeah, Kyle, I've always had a little, affinity for Smoking Wicked. He's just he just runs well more times than not. The only race that I really, can't get around obviously are two back in the Pat Day Mile. Obviously, the slop was not his friend that day, and then obviously you look at the Rebel, which he doesn't want to go two turns. I really believe he's sitting on a big race. And listen, I could be wrong here. I just think, Dallas Stewart, that Maxfield was that was a good race. I mean, that wasn't a great at stake. That should have been a great at stake. That Verify is a solid horse. I thought he ran well in there. He that was pretty fast, and he seemed to run right with him. So, I'm going to take a chance in this spot with Smoking Wicked at 6-1. I think he's right there. He fits right in. There's just others in here that I'm not. I can't get aboard, and I'm going to let you talk about the two because I do have. I'm going to give you a little flack for that one.
Okay, no, and I'd love to hear it because I have my reasons why I do like this horse as well. Neither one of us have the morning line favorite Macho Music in there, which I think is interesting in its own right. However, Smoking Wicked, which you can see I wasn't kidding. I do have the 3 in there in third. I agree with you. That Maxfield was actually really good. A 90 on the buyer scale. However, you go to the time form, and they have it rated as a 121, which again, if you don't know the difference between time form and buyer, usually it's about a 15 to 20 point difference. So 121 is rated very, very highly comparatively to buyer. And that's, again, one thing I've picked up in the last couple of years of doing this is comparing these different types of speed figures and noticing where the discrepancies are. And because it actually really helps because, one figure is not the end all be all. So I do agree Smoking Wicked has a really good chance, at least for a piece, if not obviously for you on the win end. So Pat, good luck with Smoking Wicked on Saturday. And yeah, I'm going with Garamond. And there's many different reasons why I do like this horse on Friday. One of them, I don't think that horse likes the slop at all. Last time out was almost skipping across it, and then they turned for home and just really had nothing in the tank. Next thing, I don't think this horse is a 2-turn horse based on how that horse was running last time out. Ran very credibly in the Gotham, then came back in an optional claimer, blew the doors off that field with a 99. And also at Tampa going 6.5 showed the ability to rate and finish going by, again, a lot lesser. However, still showed the ability to not have to be a need the lead type. In this race, I think Garamond, with Macho Music right to the inside, I almost think Garamond sits a beautiful trip right behind the speed. Smoking Wicked will also be close, but the fact that either Garamond's going to sit right off the pace or even mid-pack, I think gives this horse a massive difference comparatively to last time. Even though he got the same trip last time, was at a much different, so many different factors in that race. I almost consider that race a complete toss. So if you toss that race out, this horse has an impeccable sheet, and the fact that I'm going to get 7-2, hopefully on this horse on Friday, will give me all the ammo that I need to try and fire on this one on Friday. Now, Pat, why am I wrong?
Yeah, listen. Usually, I don't like to. I usually am pretty, convicted when you speak about horses that you do like. My problem is, and you're 100% right about the last race, the Pegasus. Two back, that race against Cornucopian, that was, what was that, a 3-horse field, I think?
Yep, that's correct.
That race was a joke. The way Cornucopian was, the way they ran Cornucopian was, I just can't get over that one. So then
That's
we
correct.
go to the race before that, Flood Zone in the Gotham, just not one of the stronger fields, I would say.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, I just don't know if this horse is good enough. I just don't think he kind of classes up to these. He needs to improve, I think. And I just think there's others in here that prefer this distance and maybe a little bit more. But I could be wrong. This horse could shove me in a locker. I'm not going to really have this horse on any of my tickets because he's going to be betting the connections. But I understand why you like the horse. I'm just going to play against.
No, and look, I completely get it. And I think I agree with you on Smoking Wicked. I have that horse in third, so we'll end up seeing who's right come Friday because we are again. You don't like Garamond at all, although I do like Smoking Wicked a little bit. So this is almost a match race between Pat and I to see who's right. Pat, you and I both have the number 6 Gunmetal in first or in second. Excuse me. I had this one in first for the longest time and ended up not putting this horse on top. I ended up putting in second just because I could find a lot of different excuses with the 2. However, I do again recognize a lot of your statements for the 2 Gunmetal. Pat is a horse that has had some really good races and some really not so good ones. And the Swale, you could, maybe that's the one the Woody Stevens, maybe just a little bit over his head. Obviously, the Swale wasn't that good either, but both of the other races were impeccable and much good enough to win a race like this. Just a matter of can this horse find that type of form again?
Yeah, with Gunmetal, that Woody Stevens was just a mess for him. He, last out didn't stand a chance in there. But when he's up front, he gets courageous and he runs pretty well. This horse, that race 2 back was visually impressive at Keeneland, and that's kind of the race I'm looking at as I think this horse can rebound. I know the Lasix thing is a big thing. Yeah, you're bringing that up. That's I get it, but I think this horse is going to be more forward with Saez, as aggressive as he gets. And I think this horse is going to fit right in. I'm definitely playing a 3-6, 6-3 exacta because I like both these horses.
And the thing is, Pat, also for the 2, again, I'm not one exactly to play jockey gymnastics either. But even though Pratt rides in probably his first call now for Chad Brown, you'd imagine he had the first choice on this horse as well, being that he won in that optional claimer at Keeneland, yet he still shows up on Garamond. That, again, not one for jockey gymnastics, but still, I feel like that's something you got to take into consideration. Although, again, we are Saez stands around here. We do enjoy a lot of Luis Saez, but at least again, something to consider.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he was entered in the Jersey Shore at Monmouth, but they drew the rail. So they have this horse ready to go. Is what I'm getting to. And he's going to be able to run out of his own stall in this spot.
Yep.
I think this horse is sitting. I'm hoping on a good one.
Well, and we'll see because, like I said, I had this horse on top when I first looked at this, and the second time I looked at this card. Then last race, the last time I looked at it, I ended up switching the 2 and actually switching my best bet as well. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Saturday. If you guys don't follow me over on X, it's right there on my name tag at AP Roscoe K. I post every single time I play any type of card. I will post all my selections over on X. So again, give me a follow over there if you guys are so inclined. 9-2 on Gunmetal is one reason why I really liked Gunmetal in this race, because you're getting 7-2 I think on Garamond. So end up seeing what the prices will be and we'll figure it out on Saturday. Gate to Wire is a horse I've liked a lot in the past. Patrick just really hasn't shown that he can take the step up into this competition, although it has run very, very good races. I just feel like he needs a little bit of a pace set up in front of him. And although Macho Music will ensure at least a decent pace, I don't know at like 6.5 if that's what this horse either really wants or if it's enough pace to get this horse home.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that, Kyle. This horse has to improve again. It's kind of been, really non-threatening in his last 3 races at all. I will say that race at, Gulfstream was very good, but, like you pointed out, I thought that pace was just very, very quick and kind of had, it was right there in front of him in the swell. So listen, this horse could be something very good and could get back to form, but I'm not going to be using.
Yeah, I liked him a little bit in the Swale, and I really liked him in the Pat Day Mile on the cutback. Yeah. Didn't end up working out that day, of course, when that whole crap happened at with Macho Music and everything like that. So we will see. I know, yes, I do have Peep odds now. Howard, you saw me switch that. again, I don't handicap with morning lines. And obviously Chris Couples says morning lines are a distraction. Rob agrees. I can't handicap with morning lines anymore. I just, like I said, there's such a distraction to where even though, Charlie and Jim Pillar's love to clown me because it seems like I gravitate towards the favorites. But if it, at the end of the day, if I love to handicap without morning lines, and if it just appears that I go with the favorites, then so be it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about which horse you like, but at the end of the day, that is a very helpful handicapping tool that I've developed ever since my Arlington days. I never handicapped with the morning lines. In the grade 2 Amsterdam, I'm going 2-6-3. Pat's going 3-6-4. Pat, the last race of the day, and it's another doozy, my friend. It is race number 10. It's a maiden claiming 50,000, 1 mile, and an ace on the turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-old and up, that are foaled in the state of New York. And we all know how that ends the card. It's a field of 9, 1 MTO with the number 10, but the morning line favorite in this 9 field of 9 is the number 3, I believe. Catholic Edition, Jose Lascano, Linda Rice, again 3-1 on the morning line. The number 2 Dividend Recap, Joel Rosario, Miguel Clement at 7-2 is your second choice, and your third choice is all the way to the outside, number 9 Practical Romance, Johnny V and Brittany Russell at 4-1. And Pat, I'm going to bring up our picks on the screen right now, and you'll see I'm going 9-3-4. Pat's going 5-9-2. So Pat, again, even though you're going fourth choice, still off the board from what we mentioned previously. Number 5, Attagirl Addy, Ricardo Santana, and I believe Gustavo Rodriguez. Again, nice middling price at 9-2, Pat, and a wide open race.
Yeah. She's going to be, like you said, Kyle, probably that middling price. And I think, listen, her last race, going this distance at Aqueduct, she was trying to get there at the wire to Starlight Dancer, who is a decent horse. Starlight Dancer, it kind of runs, runs in those maiden state bred races, but did go to Open Company and maiden claiming race, and did lose to Sassy Princess, who's, I would say fairly decent. And what I'm getting to here is I just think Attagirl Addy, she's kind of the one that I expect Ricardo to have forwardly placed for Gustavo Rodriguez, who's got that one win with, I believe, Phileas Fogg in the Suburban. I'm just going to try and hope that Ricardo can get a good trip in here, because this is one of those races where I have no confidence with anybody. And you bring up the point of wanting to pass horses. This is one of those races, right?
Bingo, Patrick. You read my mind, which is what leads me right into the horse that I like the most. Obviously, like I said, Attagirl Addy is not a horse that I have in here, although I obviously did consider. 0-12. This is a 4-year-old maiden now, still staying at that type of maiden claiming. She's one of those that she runs well, but I don't know if she runs well enough. That's my only problem with her, is the fact that, again, she passes horses very well, but again, those are with, decent paces. And when she runs, she's had 4 tries at the maiden claiming and has only finished in the money once, and that was at 1 1/8. This will be the 1 1/8 as well, so hopefully that will play to her advantage. But again, it's just one of those that's pretty hard to trust, and you're going to get a little bit of a lower price than I would be willing to take on Attagirl Addy. And Rob brings up a very good point. Fun fact, favorites are 0-9 on the outer turf route since July 3rd at Saratoga. So definitely an interesting note, Rob. Greatly appreciate you joining the podcast. I went with the number 9, Practical Romance, Pat, and she ran very well considering on debut. Last 2 times have not been as good. It'll be, second off, I guess, a mini layoff, if you will. She was off for 2 months, didn't run the best. Now, this is the first try into the maiden claiming race, which is another reason why I do like her. She'll be facing a lot softer. You can see based on time form, they have the 7 going out for the lead. However, the 4 and 9 will be just in behind with the lack of pace. I'm hoping the 9 can sit right off the front end with Johnny V aboard, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yep. Johnny V aboard and can take them all the way. Brittany Russell, obviously over 2 at the meet so far, but she wins enough on the East Coast to make up for that. This will be, again, going back to this type of distance as well. Again, even going longer at 1.125 miles, which I feel like out of an arch mare should suit her decently well. Again, first time in claiming, lots of different things to like about the number 9 Practical Romance. Hopefully she will not end up going off as the favorite. Pat, you have that horse in second, and then you also have the number 2 Dividend Recap from Miguel Clement off the almost 2-year layoff now at this point for Dividend Recap. So anything you want to add on Practical Romance, then feel free to go into your third choice.
Yeah, with Practical Romance, I thought she kind of is going to be the one that's going to take the bulk of the money in here. Listen, I think she's probably going to improve, and she should be able to, kind of sit a stalking trip in here with the 7, who's supposed to be on the lead. But I don't know how you could trust that at all, considering this horse, watching those replays, has tried to get to the lead in every race. It just can't.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to find interesting, because then you get to the 2 Dividend Recap, who, Miguel Clement, the Clement barn, when they drop down to this level, I know I'm not supposed to bet this horse, and Howard's probably flipping out because he's always brought up about betting the Clements in this type of class and race. But I just think the way they're going right now, I don't know how I could leave this horse off my ticket. I think that she's, if her works are anything halfway decent, she fits in here. So we'll see, Kyle. I don't know. The problem is that 3 of my choices are going to be the top 4 or 5, and I couldn't get to any of the ones that are going to be longer shots.
Yeah, I know, and I believe Valerie Clement, if I'm not mistaken, is that his wife?
Valerie? No, that's the mother.
The mother. Thank you. I'm losing my mind. I know I recognize that. Haven't I taught you anything, Pat? Yeah, but this is one of those that's, again, it's off of a 1.5-year layoff, probably where she's going to run. Although she ran fine. Why wouldn't they? If this horse was really who she used to be, granted she was running in 2-year-old main special weights back then, if she was really who she used to be, why wouldn't she put in another, New York state bred race, exactly this type of thing? So that's the only reason I didn't put Dividend Recap. Again, if she runs well, stuffs me in a locker, I'll take it and I'll move on, because this is not a race I'll probably bet on Friday. So, I've gotten better at picking and choosing my spots. And again, if Dividend Recap wins, I will be out. Shout out to my man Razor Sharp Picks in the chat. Razor, thanks so much for joining the show, man. Hopefully you cashed really nice at Delaware Park today. The last horse we'll talk about before we move on to best bets, Pat, is Professor Grace. Last time out, I thought she actually ran very well. And that was at a main special weight. First time out on the turf was by far her best effort that she's ever ran. And I know one man in the chat who will like this by a Catholic boy. I've Castellano hops back aboard for this horse. Rudy Rodriguez, who's had a tough start to his I almost said Del Mar or Delaware Park, excuse me. Just to his Saratoga meet, 1 for 22. However, I think you might have just found something last time with this horse, and the drop into 50,000 claiming company might exactly be what this horse needs on the turf to be able to run a very nice one, at least picking up some of the pieces late. But again, we'll see how fast the pace scenario actually will end up being. In the last race for the Late Pick 5, I'm going 9-3-4. Pat's going 5-9-2. Again, to close out Friday's Late Pick 5. And Pat, moving into our best bets. You only have one, but again, you talked about it at length. And what's your best bet's going to be? Race number 9 in the Grade 2 Amsterdam. Pat's going to win on the number 3 Smoking Wicked. Again, Pat, like I said, you talked a ton about it already, so you don't have to expand too much. But again, this is your best bet of the entire day.
Yeah, I've just always had something for him, and I think he's sitting on a good one. I'm hoping, that 6.5, that distance, that cut back and half a furlong, hit some square in the face. It's a good race, that Amsterdam. Yeah. And I'm excited for that. We've been lucky to cover a couple of these good sprint dirt races over the last couple of weeks. And this is another one. So I'm hoping to get all of that 6-1, like I said, Kyle, and another fun coming up on another fun weekend of racing across the country.
Yeah, look, and like I said, this is one of the less prestigious Fridays, if you will,
it's true.
in the last couple, but still it opens up a lot of betting opportunity because there's really not there's not a single strong favorite in this entire sequence. So I think it's actually going to be a very, very good betting sequence, even though they don't share a bunch of a lot of the stakes races that you will see from Saratoga throughout the summer. My two best bets, guys, two simple win bets for me. I talked about it. Race number 7 in the main special weight on the turf. I like Red Violet. Again, the Dam 5 for 5 winners. One of them was at 2 years old. I think they've only run 3 races at 2 and is 2 for 3 in the money. So I do like that. Again, 4 for 5 of those winners are on the turf. One of them was on the synthetic. So if Red Violet is somewhere around the 3-1 mark, definitely going to be a play for me on Friday. And again, talked about it at length in the Amsterdam. Pat and I going against each other. A win on the number 2. Garamond might be, like I said, these could switch. Follow me on X at AP Roscoe K for the final sheet to come out on Friday. But as of right now, might be an irresponsible wager of the week too. We might see a win on the number 2 Garamond in the Amsterdam. Pat, even though we didn't have the man Chuckles to talk a lot, I feel like we did enough and talked about a really nice sequence on Friday. And again, good luck to everyone out there. Thank you guys all so much for both. And shout out to Rob, greatly appreciate it. And again, shout out to everyone that's been posting in the chat. Again, first show that's been only on YouTube. We'll be posting this all the way through. And if you guys can, please share on X that we're going to only post these on YouTube. And you can use the share link down below the video player to share out this podcast and others here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Of course, for that, we greatly appreciate it. And before we end, I want to shout out a new viewer who I have not seen before, Juan Ramos. Thanks for stream. Juan, thanks so much for joining, man. Greatly appreciate all the new viewers that we have and all the ones that have stuck around throughout the 4 years of the HHH Racing Podcast. Because, of course, we cannot do it without you. For my co-host, Patrick Kunsel, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, in episode 140 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast, covering the Saratoga Friday Late Pick 5 for July 25th, including the Grade 2 Amsterdam Stakes. And until next time, everyone, crush those bets, win those photos, and stay safe, everyone. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good night.